For All Mankind, Season 4, Episode 8, Legacy. Last week, we had a unfortunately short-lived workers' strike that Dev killed by offering some of the workers a whole bunch of money. This week, we find out why he did that. And I do want to take a little bit of issue with the fact that Dev Issa is very much supposed to be an Elon Musk type character, except that he's like actually competent and he's like an actually self-made man, like or at least the way that he's presented it, because like he's talked about how he worked in a garage with only a few $1,000s to his name and now he's a billionaire. And I don't like basically no billionaire actually ended up that way. Like, you hear that story about people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. It's like, no, their parents were wealthy too. Their parents were like upper middle class. They had a lot of money to invest into their kids. Basically, no billionaire is just actually rags to riches unless you're somebody like J.K. Rowling, you know, somebody who worked entertainment adjacent stuff. Anyway, that's an aside. I don't like billionaires. But Dev is basically playing like 5D chess, where he broke the strike because he knew the strike was actually going to hinder the ability for them to ensure that the Goldilocks asteroid is in Mars orbit and not Earth orbit, because the strike was going to prevent them from capturing the asteroid altogether. And he knew that one of the strike demands of getting the asteroid into Mars orbit, that the M7 nations would never agree to this, because as we saw a couple episodes ago, they determined it would take 40 years to see a return on investment for a Mars orbit asteroid. It'll take a lot sooner if they put it in Earth orbit. But Dev doesn't want Mars just to be a waypoint. He wants Mars to become its own thriving planet, its own civilization. And having access to a $20 trillion asteroid would definitely help Mars establish itself as more than just a novelty base. So he and Ed recruit all of the people who did not cross the picket line. There was like 5 people who didn't cross the line. And he's recruiting those people who, you know, rightly are suspicious of Dev, since Dev's the one who broke the strike. But Dev's like, no. We're going to do an asteroid heist. And so there's like a whole like kind of Ocean's 11 vibe heist planning montage where we like intercut between like the NASA briefing about how they're going to do the asteroid and how Dev's team is going to like switch out hardware so that they can send a different transmission to the ship to control the burn, so that the asteroid doesn't just get slingshotted around Mars to Earth, but actually ends up in Mars orbit permanently. And there's a lot of fun stuff there. We don't get the conclusion of that heist. I'm sure that's going to be next episode, but the episode does end with the mission on its way to go capture the asteroid, and so we'll see how that one goes. But Ed, while they're doing this heist, has forgotten that Kelly is going to the other side of the planet for several weeks, and has left Alex in Ed's care. And, you know, they haven't really had a chance to bond yet. And Alex is kind of afraid of Ed because, like, at one point he said Ed looks like a big scary bear. And I was almost expecting Ed to just shave his beard after that. But the episode does actually deal a lot with Ed learning how to be a parent again. He's raised 2 kids, but, you know, he was always pretty hands-off about that for a lot of it. And also, you know, he raised his 2 kids with his wife, and she's not in the picture anymore. So, you know, he actually ends up getting parenting advice from Dev, of all people, who Dev's not a parent. Dev is just remembering things that, you know, he learned from the way his dad raised him. And I don't necessarily think Ed's getting the right lessons from that, because part of one of the things that he does as a bonding thing with Alex is there's like a specific piece of equipment that they are smuggling off of one of the shuttles that ended up in a secure locker, and the only way to get to it is to squeeze through a small grate. So Alex is the only person on the base small enough to get into it. So Ed recruits his 7-year-old grandson to help them steal a highly sensitive piece of equipment. And I was just so mad at him the whole episode for that. I'm not like mad that they did it. I love seeing characters written to do stupid and bad things, but I am very mad at Ed for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. But I also like, it was also nice to see Ed grow more into, you know, because we've seen scenes of him being a warm paternal figure when, you know, when he wants to be, and sometimes he's stuck in his ways and has that good old boy mindset where, you know, being a dad means being tough and, you know, tough love and stuff like that. And we've seen the ways that has failed him, and hopefully he's kind of learning a little bit of a lesson here. Dev tells him that probably the best way to connect to Alex is just let Alex share in his passions, which is one of the things that leads them to recruiting a 7-year-old for an asteroid heist. But it's fun. I really enjoyed Ed's plot this episode, as mad as I was for him getting Alex involved. As for Kelly, who's off on the other side of the planet doing her, you know, research to look for life, I don't think we're going to see much of her until the finale of this season. And that's because the obvious assumption would be that as a season finale thing, they're going to find life on Mars. But because it's the obvious choice, and this show has often shied away from the obvious choice, I think the more likely scenario is that they're going to end the season very ambiguous as to what she finds. Like, she's going to find something. I know she's going to find something, but either the audience won't be sure what it is she found, or she won't be sure what it is she found. And we won't find out what it is until season 5. That's my prediction. Another prediction that I had been making since the beginning of the season was that Margot was going to end up running Roscosmos by the end of it. And I am completely wrong there. That is a prediction that I got wrong, because after Margot came out and announced that she had, you know, defected from the US to the Soviet Union when everyone thought she had been dead, well, the whole reason she defected in the first place was to save Sergei's life. Sergei, who was the former head of Roscosmos and had been used by the KGB to turn her into an asset, but she was able to get him to, you know, safely get to the States. As soon as he sees that she is alive and then finds out that she is coming back to Houston to liaise with NASA for the M7 asteroid capture program, he drives straight from his home in Iowa all the way to Houston. First to talk to Aleda, because he lets Aleda know basically all of the ways that Margot had been pushed into becoming a KGB asset, but then also to get in direct contact with Margot, because the current head of Roscosmos, you know, the KGB agent, Irina, Sergei reveals that she was his KGB handler for the entire time that he was at Roscosmos, that it was her plan from the beginning to turn Margot into a Russian asset. And so now it looks like the plan is for them to find a way for Margot to get back to the States permanently, to get out from being a KGB asset. I don't know how that's going to play out, because Margot objectively committed treason against the United States and gave nuclear secrets to the Russians under duress, but she still did it. So I don't see a clean way forward for Margot. Like, she could be granted a presidential pardon, but I don't see Al Gore doing that. That would be a very unpopular move for him, considering that Margot Madison is like one of the most hated people in America right now, because she's like one of the most visible traitors of the US in the last century. Side Ethel says, ankle monitor. Well, right now she is under guard both by like US and Russian officers. Like, she's got an office at Houston, and both Russian and American officers are standing outside of her door to escort her everywhere. You know, she's got a hotel room and she can get room service there, but I don't think she's actually, although she did meet Sergei at a hotel, or not at a hotel, at a diner. She left her hotel to go to the diner, and they didn't really show her like sneaking away from security to do that. So I'm wondering if it's more they just have an eye on her while she's at NASA. She has diplomatic immunity while she's here, but also she is a KGB asset, and I would imagine that the KGB wants to keep close eye on her. So I don't know how she snuck away. That felt like a little bit of a plot hole. Maybe next episode will explain it, but she just kind of shows up at the diner. But the Snowden of For All Mankind, No, she wasn't revealing U.S. military secrets to the public. Like, Edward Snowden, like, objectively did a good thing. Edward Snowden was revealing bad things that the U.S. government was doing to the world. Margot was turned into a KGB asset because she saw, originally, is because she saw that the Soviets had stolen plans for the Challenger shuttle. But they're plans that because in this timeline, the Challenger disaster never happened. They fixed that problem. But the Soviets stole plans from the Challenger before they had addressed that problem. So she warns them because she doesn't want, cosmonauts to die. She cares about the science. And from that, they realized that they could turn her into an asset and get her to reveal more. And they eventually forced her to reveal designs for a nuclear engine, which, again, nuclear secrets are kind of, one of the worst things that you could trade to another nation. So, yeah. Sideful says she learns how to teleport. I wouldn't put it past the show getting into some Star Trek sci-fi technology by the end. The way that the show is structured is every season we jump forward another 10 years. Right now we're in 2003. But in like 2 seasons, it should be present day, season 6. And I think they said they're planning for 7 seasons, which means the 7th season is going to be set in the future. I think season 6 is also going to be interesting because it's going to be set in present day, so we can get a really nice one-to-one comparison on where their technology is versus ours. But then in season 7, like, it's anybody's game, and they might not even be limited to just 10 years in the future. They might try and tell where humanity goes to the stars altogether. Like, I would not put it past them meeting aliens. I wouldn't put it past them having warp drive, all of that stuff. I don't think they're going to have teleportation this season. And I think generally they're trying to keep the sci-fi elements of the technology that they have fairly grounded. Like, I would say that the biggest conceits that they are making for ease of storytelling is that they've got more advanced space propulsion, so that it only takes like 2 to 6 weeks to get from Earth to Mars. Basically any time of year. They don't have to wait for launch windows anymore because of the new increased engine efficiencies. Things like that, where they don't really go into the details of it. Also, that they've been able to get cold fusion working, that's another big conceit. But in general, they haven't done like, oh yeah, we're gonna have like, teleportation technology or that. I think they have mentioned they were gonna have like directed energy weapons, because they were talking about ways to put down the workers' strike, and they did mention directed energy weapons. But we do actually have directed energy weapons now. They're not phasers. They're like, heat rays basically, or electro tasers is another thing. Like a high powered laser can ionize the air, and you can send an electrical pulse through that. So it's basically like a lightning gun. So there's things like that you could do. I think generally the show is going to try and stay mostly grounded in terms of potential technologies. I don't think they're going to go full Star Trek with it yet. But season 7 is anybody's game. But yeah, anyway, that's it for episode 8. We've got 2 more episodes this season. And while I was wrong about this season ending with Margot running Roscosmos, unless something completely out of left field happens, it seems like the main goal is going to try and be to get Margot to remain in the United States. And we'll see where it goes from there. Hey, thanks for watching. Your view means a lot. Don't forget to toss me a like and subscribe and ring the bell. I stream Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific and Sundays at 2 p.m., so catch me live and join in on the convo. You can find all my socials in the description below, and thank you to all my patrons, with a very special shout out to my Whale Shark tier patron Ryan D and my Anemone friend tier patron Pistol Cakes. Your support means the world. Catch you next time.